Doc Rivers continues to time and time again not get it when it comes to getting... Oh! Let him play!
He wins. Great steak. Smells like poop.
Honestly, like if Urban Meyer wants to come to Connecticut,
Bring him on. I mean, come on. I'll take him too.
Nia Jackson, I think, weighs 280 pounds.
Oh!
can we isolate that clip? Nia Jax weighs 280 pounds. Oh!
Let her play. From Los Angeles, this is Dave in the City, brought to you by Locks of the Week Radio. Now, here's Dave Medina.
Good evening, sports fans, and a pleasure to have you here for the big President's Day night NBA show. We're recording this on the holiday into the evening and into the next workday for a lot of people here in this great nation of ours. Good to have you with us from the Dave in the City studios in sunny Southern California. We are going to convene here to talk about the latest from the NBA, much of which involves the All-Star Weekend. It wound up being a pretty exciting weekend for the association, and we'll have our thoughts on that, including the new format for the fourth quarter of the All-Star game, in which the Elam system was used, meaning the instead of basically turning off the clock, setting a target score by adding the number 20, by adding 24, and 24 is determined by as a tribute to Kobe Bryant, who just recently passed away, to the winning team score, and then telling both teams, hey, you got to get to that new number, whatever that was, plus 24, to win the game. No clock, except for the shot clock. Very interesting stuff. Did it work out? Let's jump it. The NBA report for February 17th. Well, the first half of the season is over. The All-Star weekend has finished as well, and we're about to head into the second half of the season. Very exciting stuff. That All-Star weekend, it looked like it could have been a big train wreck. Turned out the train wreck was in the NHL. Ha! Go look it up. You should have seen what happened in Colorado. Not pretty. But in Chicago, where people thought there would be a train wreck, not the case. The All-Star weekend was, I would say, a success. Very positive thoughts about the new scoring format. As weird as it was, it took me 10 minutes to figure out what was going on in the fourth quarter. But the untimed fourth quarter was a success. The game wound up being very close. It was a roughly 20-point lead for Team Giannis in the All-Star game on Sunday night. And Team LeBron cut into the lead. And it came down to it was like a 2-point game. Did get a little ragged, but ultimately a success. LeBron pulled the comeback, and although the idea of this was to get rid of free throws to finish a game, to end a game, well, the game ended on a free throw anyway. Anthony Davis shot a free throw to end the game and win it for Team LeBron. So exciting game, and I was pleasantly surprised to see how positive the response was across the board. I mean, there were people who didn't like it, and it's understandable. And I was just kind of still think it's kind of weird, but ultimately, it got the desired result, which was more juice, more people interested in the game, and more competition between the two teams. And we certainly saw it on Sunday night. And the charity money involved was certainly a nice factor too. $300,000 for the winner of the game going to charity, along with $100,000 for winning the second quarter and another $100,000 for winning the third quarter. You do need a little abacus to keep that all straight, but in the end, it was exciting, and I think that was ultimately all the NBA wanted to do. So that's basically it. But let me get our host Chris in Georgia to join us now, and he can tell you the happenings on Saturday night as well. Chris, sorry for that long intro, but how's it going tonight, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good.
No need to apologize, Dave. I mean, you there's a lot to discuss. It was an exciting weekend, so let's get to it.
Yeah, and I got to say, I was not expecting to have that much to discuss, but we ended up having a lot of juice. And it starts on NBA Saturday night, and we can start there. I was not privy to the events there. I was not able to watch the Saturday night stuff. I did see the Rising Stars game, and it gave us a little hint of what we used to see in the NBA All-Star game, because in the final 2 minutes of the Rising Stars game, the game was so far out of hand, all they did was exchange dunks at the end. And it was like, oh, man, this is making a mockery. I mean, if you want to be completely Captain No Fun, you could say this is making a mockery of the sport because they weren't even trying to win the game anymore. It was just like, all right, you get a dunk. Okay, you get a dunk. And nobody's playing defense, and it's like, I mean, I didn't care about that. I think that was fine, but if you were seriously hardcore about, competition, blah, 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 then I could see that maybe this is the reason why the NBA tried this new Elam rule. So that was that. But Saturday night, I was not privy to. And so I'll turn it to you for your thoughts on the three-point shooting contest, skills competition, and the slam dunk. There's certainly a lot to talk about there, Chris. What'd you see?
Yeah, so, you're totally right. It's so funny. Like Friday night stands in such stark contrast to the events from last night. I got to think like next year when they do Rising Stars, the Elam Ending is going to be in effect. I mean, I have to think they're gonna bring that out for that game as well.
I agree.
Saturday night. So skills competition was fun. That's always like a quick event. It just kind of breezes by because you get like that single elimination where you get the head-to-head of the two players running through the the sort of obstacle course, what have you. And it's a good time. It's fun because, you see players doing their dribble, pass, shoot, running through the whole gamut of NBA skills in as quick as time as possible. And the winner, of course, was surprising and just another instance of a big man winning it. Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat takes home the trophy this year. Last year's defending champ, Jason Tatum, was eliminated in the first round by, I believe it was, I'm drawing a blank now. I can't remember. The Pacers center. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but yeah, Adebayo, another big, wins the game, wins the skills challenge, and takes home the trophy. So that was exciting. But again, very quick, and that led into the 3-point contest, which was a lot of fun. I could probably watch like this thing for like 2 hours. I don't know why. It's always been a favorite of mine. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Dave. I don't think we ever talked about it, but going back to the days when Bird was involved, I used to love it. I don't know. What do you think? You like the 3-point competition?
I'm a big fan. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was. It's fun and it's cool. There are a lot of young players in there, guys in anywhere between second to fifth year. They had a rookie, Duncan Robinson from Miami was in the mix. Second year man Trey Young from my hometown Atlanta Hawks was there, although he was I think he had the lowest score of all competitors in that first round. He got eliminated first. But it's good to see fresh blood. That's what I like about when they do this, is like when you see faces that you don't see in like the All-Star game, for example. Like you're not seeing Harden in the 3-point competition. Sometimes it's just fun to see some of the younger guys get to see their jump shots and so forth. And it was exciting. It was it was very tight competition. I thought, I thought the guard from Phoenix,
Booker?
What's his name? Yeah, Booker was going to win it. I mean, he looked strong early. He had a very good first round. I think he was the leading scorer in the first round, and he did well. But in the end, Buddy Hield walked away with it, and really kind of got off to a shaky start, and then just kind of cruised in the second half of the competition. So congratulations to Buddy Hield. He was great, and it was exciting. It was the second round was very very tight, and like I said, it's good to see these young guys in the mix. And then in between they of course had entertainment. Dame Lillard came out and did some of his his rap back, and it was actually quite good. And I hadn't heard him rap before. I know he's kind of a big deal now, but Dame was in there doing it live. It was cool. And then of course the closing event of the evening, of course, was a slam dunk competition, and there's 4 competitors, and so it was your favorite center, Dwight Howard, from
well,
their hometown.
Sure.
yeah. It was Pat Connaughton of the Milwaukee Bucks, shooting guard, and Derek, what's his name? Derek Jones Jr. Sorry, from the Miami Heat, and Aaron Gordon of the Orlando Magic. And so those were our 4 competitors, and I think Connaughton is the only new face, because I know Gordon's been in it, and I think Derek Jones Jr. was in it once, maybe last year. I'll have to double check that one, but and then Howard was in it. It's been a while. It's probably been over a decade since he was last in it, but he won it. I think in
2008.
Was it that long ago? Okay, it was over 12 years ago. Okay, something like that.
Because the other guy was Gerald Green, right?
That he was facing off against?
One of the guys, yeah. And then there was some other guy, and but that was the Superman dunk. Remember the Superman
it was
dunk?
a Superman dunk, and you kind of knew he was going to pull it. Spoiler alert: he wore the Superman cape, and then had the big S on his chest. He took off his Lakers jersey on the second dunk. Had the S on his chest.
Wait, he did it again?
Yeah, he did that again.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you kind of had to know that was going to happen.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a good point.
He pulled that off, and then underneath that, he had the S, but he had spray painted 24 on top of that. So it was a little tribute to
that's cool.
To Kobe. So it was exciting from the get-go. I mean, honestly, no offense, Dwight Howard he was the least interesting of the 3 dunkers, and arguably Connaughton probably could have advanced. He was really good. I think I can't remember if it was first or second dunk where he dunked over Giannis. Those things kind of make me nervous watching, because it's like, oh, he's going to jump over this guy who's 6'11" and throw the basketball in the hoop. I don't know. It always makes me feel nervous that someone's going to walk off on a stretcher. But he was exciting. But it came down to the final 2, which was Gordon and Derek Jones Jr. And they just kind of went back and forth. And there was, I think there was 3 or 4 rounds where they just went back and forth, and they were getting 50s. And Gordon had some of the most unbelievable dunks I have ever seen. Well, actually, let me go back to Connaughton. Had one where I believe it was the one where he jumped over Greek Freak and tapped the ball on the backboard and then slammed it home. And then Gordon had one where it was very similar, where he kind of came from the side. And I can't remember who was holding the ball, but he was standing under the basket, holding the ball above his head, and Gordon came from the side and picked the ball off the guy's head and turned and kind of did like a 360 midair and slammed it home. It was pretty dramatic. I hadn't seen a dunk like that. And at this point, I'm like, because I'm like kind of a casual fan of the dunk contest. I've kind of been bored with it for years. I think this was the best one I've seen in Dave, seriously, since the 80s. I don't know. I mean, I feel like
2008 was good though. 2008 when the Superman dunk with the first go with Dwight Howard, I thought was pretty good. So I
don't know, but
you think it's better than that though? Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing. Like, I mean, Dwight has 3 or 4 inches on an Aaron Gordon. And I was always a fan of seeing not little guys, but smaller guys dunk. I don't find it that interesting when you have like a 7-footer dunking. I mean, it's just, it's just not as dramatic versus when you see like an Aaron Gordon. or Derrick Jones Jr., who his signature move was going up and putting the basketball underneath his leg and slamming it home. So I don't know. It's just, do you know what I'm saying? It's just.
I get you, because like you're already 7 feet tall. What's the difficulty level on that? Yeah, I get it. I get you.
But even still, like let's say it was the most exciting one since 2008. That's a good long run. But I'm still old school. I remember watching Meek and Jordan go at it, or even like Spud Webb taking home the prize. D Brown was another one, like another short guy who won it. Anyways, yeah, it was super exciting, and there were the big move is like when you dunk over someone. So they have everyone except Dwight had at least one of those. Gordon, almost every single dunk involved one of those guys as a prop. And then it came down to it was I believe they said it was, I can't remember what number it was, but the last dunk that they had, they said if this ends up in a tie, then it will come down to the judges who would have to make a decision about who would win. And on that dunk, Derrick Jones Jr. went first and took it from half court and just running straight ahead. Almost, it was very much a throwback. It reminded me of like the old days when Jordan used to take off from the free throw line. He took one step inside the free throw line and then took off under the leg, slammed it home. Very exciting. A little bit, like I said, a little bit of a throwback. And then Aaron Gordon, and just out of nowhere, pulls out Taco Fall, Celtics rookie center, who's 7'5", and proceeds to dunk over him. And the judges voted for Derrick Jones Jr. And neither of them got 50s on that last one. I think it was 48-47, if I'm not mistaken. So they actually gave Derrick Jones Jr. 48 and Aaron Gordon 47, and the Reggie Miller was beside himself and thought, he kept saying it's highway robbery. But very exciting overall. I didn't even, I can understand people are upset. I don't know. I was just, the spectacle of it was great, and it's a lot of fun. And it was good to see. It was good to see new life in there, and hopefully it's it's kind of a sign. Like maybe the dunk contest is back, and maybe some of these younger guys will take hold. And so that was an exciting night. And at one point it just seemed like these two guys were going to go back and forth. I think they traded like 4 or 5 dunks after the elimination of Connaughton and Dwight, and so it just seemed like it was going to go on forever because they were just matching 50s every step of the way. So, but good times, and I was pretty excited. I was like, dunk contest is back, baby.
It is. I mean, when it's that good, you kind of hope it can carry over. We'll see. I like it. Thank you for the recap on all those events. I mean, there's a lot there to unpack, so you did a great job. So, very good. Let's get into the game itself, Sunday night. Now, all I can really comment on here is the fourth quarter, because that's literally all I watched. But that was the focus of this new Elam scoring system. It was the fourth quarter anyway, so I wound up having that wound up being fortuitous timing for me. At my parents' house, we were having a little party, like a mini President's Day / Valentine's Day thing, and just out of the blue, we ended up with some free time after watching a movie. So we're like, let me put on the game and see what's going on. It's like, nearing the end of the third quarter, and they show an isolated third quarter score because the winner of the third quarter wins money for charity. So like, okay, that's fun. And they show the regular score in the little graphic on the corner of the screen. So there you get to figure that out, and that's confusing enough. And then you go to the fourth quarter, they turn off the clock, and as they said in all the press releases, they set a target score of 24 points greater than the score of the leading team. The leading team was Team Giannis, and whatever that score was plus 24 equals 157. So the first to get to 157 wins the All-Star game. So this plays out a lot like any game that you play in your gym or in your playground or, at school, wherever you were. Like, wherever you were, you are always like, okay, first to 21 wins. It was like a lot of that. So we did this for the All-Star game. And Giannis was up by a bunch, like double digits. Team LeBron took advantage of the untimed fourth quarter. That's what the system is. Basically, you set a target score, you turn off the game clock. You do allow a shot clock because otherwise, somebody could just hold the ball forever. Did you ever guys? You guys don't use shot clocks in rec basketball, right, Chris? I don't think you do. I didn't, at least when I played in rec basketball.
Yeah, no, I don't remember ever seeing a shot clock anywhere. I mean, in high school, like today, I don't remember seeing that.
Well, in high school, like an actual high school game, I don't actually know. They
probably have a 40-second clock in high school, something like college.
Yeah, I mean, there's a game clock, definitely. I don't know. I never really thought about that. It's an interesting question. But in the NBA, they continued the 24-second shot clock, so that was in effect. So what happened was Team LeBron started making a comeback, but there was a 5-minute stretch of real time, since there's no game clock. It was real time. 5 minutes of real time without a field goal. And like one team would get fouled trying to make a shot, and they would shoot free throws. Another team would get fouled trying to make a shot. They tried to shoot free throws. And it was just funny. I was thinking while I was watching that with everybody that here we are talking about this new format that eliminates, or that reduces the number of free throws. We had all these free throws anyway. But that was just for a momentary period. Then they got out of it. And you're still trying to trudge up to that 157. And Team Giannis had so many chances to take this game, and they just kept missing shot after shot near the end, and eventually Team LeBron had to take over. Now, what happened was Team LeBron was down by 3 for quite a while, and so because it was 3, people were trying to shoot 3-pointers. LeBron just kept jacking all these threes. He even had one with 2 seconds inside the shot clock, just 2 seconds in to the possession. He launches it from half court. Like, LeBron, come on, man. That had no chance. But when you don't have a game clock, you can probably get away with that. And they did. It kind of went down to the end. Now, the final parts of the game were this. You had James Harden with an open lane. The entire baseline was free for him to make the layup. But he inexplicably passes the ball to LeBron to try to make the shot. He didn't make the shot. But then the ball goes out to Anthony Davis. He gets it, and then he gets fouled. So he actually can just make one free throw, because at that point they're only down 1 point. They only need 1 point to win. He just has to make a free throw to win. He misses the first free throw, which caused its own little mini controversy, which is, I think, just a coincidence, not a controversy for real. But then the second free throw he made, and Team LeBron won at the end. So it was a fun fourth quarter, and I think a lot of people on the Twitter were into it. And it's rare when you get Twitter to be happy about something. So I think the NBA accomplished its purpose, and it turned what was a runaway game into a very close game and a comeback win for Team LeBron. So it's certainly very fascinating, although kind of odd, and it took a while for laymen like me to figure out what was going on. But once I did, I was like, okay, I think I see this. Maybe it's an artificial way of making a game closer, but in the end, it did what it wanted to do. It wanted to get people more interested in the game. It wanted to get the players more interested in the game, and the charity money certainly helps. So I think in the end it was a success for the NBA. So that's my takeaway of it. And from what you saw in the highlights, Chris, I was interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, so I have been interested in this for a little while. The Elam Ending, and it got that name from Nick Elam, who is a middle school principal from LeBron's hometown of Dayton, Ohio. And he was the one who concocted this idea, which is really fascinating because I'm kind of in that boat where I'm like, that whole foul brigade, when you dip under a few minutes and you're kind of looking at the shot clock versus game clock and figuring out how many possessions can we squeeze in, and how, and if it's a big lead, we're fouling even earlier. And that stuff doesn't interest me that much, really. Seeing, and if you happen to have a a Shaquille O'Neal or a Dwight Howard on your team, or who's not a particularly good free throw shooter, you can expect that that's the guy that's going to be fouled. And it's just, I mean, it's not all that interesting. So I was kind of curious about this for a while and see how it would play out. And actually the original idea was that they would turn the shot clock off at 4 minutes to go in the game. Of course, they did the 24 points in honor of Kobe, which is understandable. But the original proposal that Nick Elam came up with was that they would, at 4 minutes, they would turn off the clock. Leading team would get they would take the leading team score and tack on 7 points, and then first to that, whatever that total out would be the winner. Which is just an interesting proposal. And what I wonder, though, is what happens leading up to that 4 minute mark? Do we get a little bit of the foul brigade there where the team that's behind is trying to slow down the scoring of the team that's ahead? So does it push it back a little bit? I mean, there's a lot of intricacies that I could see in this. From that end, from what the players are looking at and how they approach it, that it could change the game in unforeseen ways. So I'd be kind of curious to see it in games other than the All-Star game. But what I did see was really interesting, from the highlights that I saw, defense was typical All-Star defense until the fourth quarter, when everything got ratcheted up and guys were going all out. LeBron looked possessed. I mean, he definitely wanted to win this. It just, I mean, when was the last time you saw an All-Star game, one, that people were talking about the next day, and two, that was this exciting and dramatic, and a comeback to boot. So I'm kind of curious. I have it on DVR. I had not had a chance to watch it today. I had to work, and just haven't had a chance to watch it. But I will go back and watch the fourth quarter. But what I did see was, blocks and steals and guys actually playing defense. None of that Olay stuff where a guy's shot in the basket and kind of step out of the way. I'm perplexed by Team Giannis. It sounds like they really choked. I mean, it sounds like they missed. I mean, I saw Kemba missing a layup, and I saw all kinds of stuff. And I saw players being a little tentative, maybe, with the ball on offense. Like, I don't know what to do. And maybe that was just like some residue from the new format. But yeah, I'm excited about this, Dave. I mean, when I sent you an article about the Elam Ending, and your response was about one was about gambling, but two was just like, yeah, this is never gonna. Well, I mean,
no, you're right. You're right.
I gotta be fair. And I actually hadn't thought of that scenario. But the other thing was that this will never take hold in the NBA. I'm not sure it will either, but I expect the NBA will implement this in more than just the All-Star game. And I mentioned the Rising Stars competition, but it wouldn't shock me, if we see it in Summer League and maybe even G League too. Mm-hmm. And I'd be all for that. I mean, just another way to test it, work out the kinks, get the refs to look at it the same way. Yeah. I mean, it seemed like a big success. And I watched what is that show on ESPN, Get Up? Because they talk a lot of hoops on that show. You know what I'm talking about?
The morning show?
Yeah. It's the one with Mike Greenberg. Mike Greenberg.
Yeah.
And they had Doris Burke on, and she was raving about it. And of all the ESPN people, she's the one I put the most stock in. I don't know. I just think she.
That's valid. Yeah.
And she was like, she was all for it. So I don't know. I mean, I just a small sample size, but the response I saw was generally favorable. You liked it, which is big. So I'm excited to see more, and I like that the NBA takes a weekend like the All-Star Weekend to experiment a little bit and to try something different. And like it's, in my opinion, the most progressive league in terms of how they, how they approach the rules and so forth. And I think this is a good one. I think it'll be interesting to see, where they apply this next and what it ultimately leads to down the road. I mean, again, we may find it has other flaws that we don't know about, and it was a neat little experiment, anyways, right, Dave?
It was, and it's for an exhibition game like this. I think, what the hell, right? Like, why not try it? And you hinted at a couple of things. Number one, the Rising Stars Challenge. Well, actually, I hinted at this too. The Rising Stars Challenge kind of illustrated the reason why they did it. Like, you can see how much of a mockery they made the game at the end. We're like, they're not even trying to win anymore. They're like, okay, here, you get a dunk. Here, you get a dunk. Here, you get a dunk. And nobody's playing defense. It's like, oh my goodness. This got a little ridiculous near the end of that Rising Stars game. But it's because the game was so out of hand at that point. So that was certainly a reason why they went into it. The other takeaway I had from this, in addition to what I've already said, is that it strikes me, now that I've actually seen it, it reminds me of what a college football overtime would be, but without the ease of like putting the team on the 25-yard line of the other team so easily. I mean, that's easy. You're automatically in scoring range in that scenario. But this makes it a little bit tougher where you give them, okay, you have to score 24 points to win the game, like if you're the leading team. And the other team's like, well, you have to get to that other score to win the game. So it's not that big a layup. So I kind of like the idea that it's untimed. And you made a point about the shot clock not being a part of the original Elam plan. You probably do want the shot clock because if you don't have a shot clock, especially even inside of the last 4 minutes, then you're going to play four corners and shit. And then it's just going to be foul. People are just going to foul. And maybe the shot clock's still important there. So that's kind of what I came out of it. It's like, okay, it makes sense. It starts to make a little bit more sense to me now. I think it's perfectly good for a game like this. I don't know if you necessarily want to discredit the teams that built up a big lead in the NBA, like if it's the NBA Finals, and utilize Elam's system in the NBA Finals. So I feel like that would be a little ridiculous. But for an All-Star game, it works very well. So those are my thoughts. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, just one more question. Having seen this in play in the All-Star game this year, and let's say you were to tune in next year and they didn't have this, would you be disappointed?
Only to the extent that because they didn't do it, I'm probably less interested in watching it because we saw what happened when they used it. It's like you figure that if you don't have an Elam system for the All-Star, this is a good question. If you don't have it, knowing what we know now, you get the sense that it's probably going to be a 20-point win for the other team. So
you can't take it out, right? It's got to be there.
Yeah, I think especially because everybody in the public was largely positive about the response to this system. It has to go in next year, absolutely.
Interesting. Okay, cool. All right, I'm fired up.
Yeah. No, I think it was a very big success for the NBA. I mean, when you get Twitter to agree on anything and say anything positive about something, you know you've done your job. I mean, they did a great job in the end. I mean, more people loved it than hated it, and that in itself is a victory.
I like it. Good stuff.
Yeah. I can't wait for you to see it, and then you can maybe give me some more detailed ideas of what you thought of the scenario.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just watched the recap on NBA.com, but just the highlights. But man, I mean, the block that Giannis had on LeBron, and then he had another one that was really close. They called it goaltending on it.
Yeah.
You you've never seen anything like that in an NBA All-Star game, or at least I have.
That's true. That's true. The intensity, I had not seen that in a long time in an NBA All-Star game. Maybe ever. I don't know if I've ever seen it. Like, that was pretty legit.
You know, one other thing I was thinking about before we move on was just the other format changes. This is the third year, I think, that they've done this, where they had two captains. Originally, it was the first year that it was LeBron and Curry. And this year, last 2 years, it's been LeBron and Giannis. And so they have the pool of players, and then they draft players. I think this is such a great thing, too. And the reason why I think that is just that it gets a guy like LeBron, who has, like, his network of buddies. Mm-hmm. And he's drafted his friends, Yeah,
right.
And he's got, like, Chris Paul is, like, one of his best friends in the league, if you believe, from what every report is, like, he loves Chris Paul. And, they're just, like, good friends, and they socialize outside of basketball. And it's almost like, for a guy like this is kind of a dream game for them.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this is the ultimate pickup basketball game. They're playing with the best. It's like, okay, I'm picking my team. It's not like, I'm just, I'm playing with a bunch of guys from the Nuggets and Warriors because they happen to be in the Western Conference. I mean, it may be the case, but I'm picking the guys. I'm picking the team that I think, suits me and who I like playing with. And I don't know, it just adds like a really cool wrinkle to it in a way that All-Star games generally don't do. And I don't know. I was thinking about that today and how cool that is. And it maybe something, when LeBron actually moves on, it may not be as cool because it seems to fire him up. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
No, I'm with it. It kind of motivates the captains of the respective teams to really get into it because, like, well, this is my team. I got pride for my team. I want this team to win. So there's a lot to that I like. Some people were kind of, maybe the two of us actually might have been in this boat. We kind of were like, but you got to do East and West, blah, blah, blah. In the playoffs, yeah. But the All-Star game, it's just an exhibition. So I don't have as much of a problem with the idea of, like, guys picking their own teams. And it seems to have worked out. Though, what's funny is that most of the guys on Team LeBron, Western Conference All-Stars.
We're Western Conference, yep.
Yep. Most of the guys on Team Giannis, right. Eastern Conference. I think Jason Tatum was on LeBron's team, which was the blue team. But you're right, yeah. I mean, it was like Chris Paul and Harden and and AD obviously, and, we're all on Team LeBron, right? Trae Young was on on Giannis's team, and kind of worked out that way, anyways. But it was still pretty cool. I don't know. I'd hate to see them go back to the old formatting. No, I got you. I don't think, though. I think they saw so much overwhelming positive response. They're going to try it again next year in the All-Star game. And you have a point. They might even do it in the Rising Stars game so they can cut out that nonsense at the end that we saw. That was nonsense for sure.
You know what? I'll tell you something else. I don't really love, like, the USA versus the world thing in the Rising Stars. I mean, I think it serves as a point of emphasis that, like, the NBA is an international game, and we do have, like, but I don't know, something about it that kind of bugs me. I'd almost like to see them change the format of that as well, and just, I don't know. I mean, just because it tends to be very jingoistic. It's almost like, we have these Americans here, and then a few Canadians, and a guy from Germany, and it's just like kind of a mishmash on the other side. It's not like, I don't know. It's something about that format bugs me, but in general, I like that game. I'm in favor of it, but I kind of wish they would revisit that, to be honest.
Well, I mean, there's the place for jingoism, I guess. I mean, the Olympics, I'm all about it. I have no issue with it there. But with this, I think it's kind of forced patriotism. Yeah. I get that. I think the idea was just to freshen it up. I mean, the rookies versus sophomore scenario maybe was a little too unfair because the sophomores have more experience. So I'm not really sure how they would assess that other than to do a USA versus World situation. And they tried it in the NHL All-Star game, too. That didn't work out either. And, it didn't work out enough where they kept it going. So, I don't have an answer to that. I think you do want to try something different, but I just don't know what the answer is.
What if they had Giannis and LeBron player coaches, or not player coaches, but they'd be coaching, and then Giannis and LeBron pick the players for those teams and then coach them?
I don't know if they'd be willing to go through the process of coaching them. They could pick the players, but I don't know if they want to coach the game. I'm sure they'd rather be partying on Friday night than watching this other game.
I don't know. I'd love to see something different there. Minor quibble. But,
yeah. Well, let me ask this. Ask it this way: would you still prefer the original rookies versus sophomores format over the World USA scenario?
You know what? I think I would.
You would. But don't you think that's an unfair advantage for the sophomores, though, because they've had seasoning and everything?
Probably, but some of that can shake out differently. Like, for example, you get guys who miss a bunch of games their rookie year. Or sometimes you get guys who really don't play as many minutes in their rookie year, and then I don't know. I mean, probably, but I'd have to go back. Was it? I don't even remember. I mean, I remember those games, but I don't remember if the sophomore teams won consistently. I'd have to go back and look. And then, sometimes you get those sophomore players who, eventually make the All-Star game. Although Trey played in the Rising Stars game too, didn't he? He was on the USA team.
Oh wow!
He did that. He did that. He did 3-point contest and he did the All-Star game. So he was active all 3 nights.
That's an interesting point. I didn't realize that you could actually do that. But he was on such a roll that he ended up in all 3 games. I didn't even think of that. Wow.
Yeah.
No wonder he was so tired in that 3-point shooting situation because he put a whole game the day before.
Yeah.
Ah, that makes sense now. Well, anyway, all in all, I think this has been it's been a fun weekend, and I normally don't care that much about the All-Star weekend, but this is a very well produced weekend. I can't argue it, and the new format certainly got a lot of people to watch, number one. And then number two, the positive response afterward, pretty great. Same scenario for the dunk contest and the 3-point contest. And I guess I don't have really any comment to what Twitter said about the Rising Stars game. But the NBA, I would say, would come out of this weekend saying, hey, this is a success. We did it. We made it. We did a good job. So big props to them. They tried something bold, and it worked out for them.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So that's a good way to end the first half of the year. The first half also had some trades to conclude the first half. And a big one, of course, as you know, was Andrew Wiggins to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for a lot of other assorted parts. You called this. You said he was going to get traded, and here he was. He got traded to the team that won the championship 2 years ago. So a very fascinating situation, but the Wolves really were desperate to trade him and get some assets, and they did it. So let's get your thoughts on the remainder of the trade deadline. And while you do that, I'll go get a beer. But what did you think about these other trades that went down after our last podcast?
Yeah, so obviously the big one was I'm trying to think of the others we missed, but I know the big one was it was basically broke down as D'Angelo Russell for Andrew Wiggins. And I thought that, first of all, to say I called it is a little strong. I mean, I listed that as a possibility. I thought that it was possible that Wiggins' contract could get moved. And I might have said the Warriors in the D'Lo contract, but I'm not positive about that. But I just listed it as one possibility. that could happen, and lo and behold, it did. But that is an interesting trade because Wiggins still that contract is still an albatross. Second year of a 5-year deal. So after this year, three more years that the Warriors are on the hook, and similarly, Russell has 3 years left. But just with all the hype about Russell signing with the Warriors, first of all, it was a bit surprising that they did it for Wiggins, because there was all kinds of speculation that Russell would be one of the biggest pieces that could be moved and so forth, and ended up being moved for really a bad contract, at least on the surface. But I think below the surface, one of the things you have to look at, or one of the main things you have to look at, is that the Warriors also got the T-Wolves first-round pick in 2021, and it's only top 3 protected. So if it doesn't convey, it goes to the 2022 unprotected first-round pick. So there's a good chance that Minnesota's really terrible next year, and I'm not.
I think it's more than a good chance.
I wasn't sure if you were back with the beer, so. But I can totally see that working out really well for Golden State. I feel like that's a very shrewd pickup is getting their first round pick, and we tend to devalue them now, and particularly this year, just because everyone talks about how bad the draft is this year. But that could be a real steal, Dave. I mean, the Warriors with Curry coming back and Clay and Trey, they could be getting a nice little cherry on top there. The other thing too is that the Warriors also moved Amari Spellman, and I think there was someone else in that trade, Jacob Edmonds. And Spellman had actually turned into a nice player after they acquired him from the Hawks in the offseason, and a bit of a surprise, and played really well as a center. And one of the things that this does is that allows them to get out of paying the repeater tax, which is very, very harsh penalty for the Warriors, and so they're going to be able to reset and get out from under that. So in theory, they get the worst player in Wiggins, the worst contract in Wiggins, but not by much, but worse. And lose D'Angelo, but they do get the first round pick, and they get out of that repeater tax status, which is huge. And so it's a fascinating move. I'm still kind of shaking my head, because we saw like this blockbuster trade go down 3 days earlier, and then right before the deadline, another major trade, even though the names aren't quite as juicy, shifting around as the Capella Covington trade. This one is interesting, and I almost wonder. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Wiggins, he has that pedigree. He was, he was the second pick in the draft behind. Wasn't he the second pick behind Embiid that year? I'm trying to remember.
Well, I thought Wiggins was either a 2 or a 1, right? So yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 2.
Yeah, I think he was number 2 behind. No, Embiid was 3. What was?
But would he be 1? Because the Cavs selected him, right?
Yeah, the Cavs selected him,
and then traded him for
right.
Kevin Love, right. And then it's like,
I think you're right. He was the number 1 pick, right?
Yeah, everybody was trying to tank for Wiggins, which is hilarious today because of he does not seem like a number 1 pick.
Yeah, he was the number 1 pick. You're right. That was because the Cavs had that string of drafting first overall, and it was Kyrie, Wiggins, and the guy from UNLV. The name escapes me right now, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's hard to look back at that, and because he was teammates with Embiid at Kansas, and Embiid got hurt his senior year, and ended up being, I think he fell to third in that draft, or maybe even later, and the Sixers kind of got a steal that year, and it's funny how things turn out, right? Third overall in the 2014 draft, so that was Embiid. I think I'll be interested to see if the Warriors think that they can kind of revitalize his career or bring his career into to a place where he can be a help, and then go from there. But I don't know. I mean, was there another trade that we missed that came later in right before the deadline? Because if I remember correctly, we did our show the Wednesday night before the Thursday deadline. So I'm trying to remember what other trades we missed.
Well, I think we may have missed the Marcus Morris to the Clippers trade. That was a big one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so far he hasn't really done much on the Clippers, but I will say, I just want to interject. I just saw right now on ESPN that Kansas honored Marcus Morris with his number getting retired, which I'm a little surprised at, but good. I mean, that's kind of nice of them to do that for him. But he's in Lawrence tonight, getting honored for his number retirement ceremony. So another Kansas alum that we got to beat on here on this program. But he goes to the Clippers, and I think he would fit the Clippers fine as a bench player. But since you know more about him than me, I wanted to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I can't remember if we talked about him on the last show, but I've seen enough of him because he spent 2 years with the Celtics, and I mean, he's not a bad player. I'll say that. Let's just say that he's a good player, and he's a net positive. And this year he's shooting the lights out from three. And I did get to see him play with the Clippers because they played against the Celtics in a game that went double overtime. It was the last night before the break, and the Celtics took that game. And he seemed to hit every shot. I mean, he was on fire. So from that standpoint, he's good. The problem is with Marcus Morris, when he is hot, he's going to shoot. When he's not hot, he's going to shoot. When he's in between, he's going to shoot.
So wait, let me interrupt for a sec. So you're basically saying this guy's Jamal Crawford?
He is a black hole. I mean, he will get the ball and you'll never see it again, ever. And sometimes that's good. But I am just a big fan of seeing players just move the ball around a lot. And, if you have the open shot, great. But, he just used to frustrate me to no end with that. I was a little surprised with that trade just because, like I said, I didn't necessarily see the fit for the Clippers. I mean, I guess, they looked at his shooting and I know the Lakers went on it too, which is interesting.
Right, we talked about that.
But for the Lakers, it was a much tougher deal just because they don't have their one asset was Kuzma, and because he makes so little, you'd have to stack contracts on top of that. So it made it really difficult. It was like basically turned out to be Mo Harkless and the Clippers first from 2020 for and also 2021 second for Marcus Morris. And so even like the Knicks, they got a first round pick, even though it's not going to be great. It's no chance it's going to be in the lottery, so nothing to get too excited about. But yeah, I don't really get the fit too much from the Clippers side. I guess maybe it's, he provides a little depth when when Kawhi sits out or Paul George. But overall, I'm not a huge fan of that acquisition. But again, Jerry West is working with Lawrence Frank in that front office, so they're much smarter people there than me, and so it'll be I'm sure there's something that I'm missing there, but who knows? We'll see. I mean, and that game that was last Thursday, the night before the break, when the Celtics played the Clippers, was a real jam. It was just really exciting. And unfortunately, that season series is over because both those games went into overtime. This one happened to be in Boston, and they were super exciting. And both teams were playing all out. And it really, if you're a Boston fan, and I'm sorry, I'm just kind of going off on a tangent. It was kind of exciting because it was a little bit of a coming out party for Jason Tatum, who scored 39 points, and I think he shot 61% from the floor. Just had a great all-around game. Played amazing D on Kawhi. I mean, there were some plays where he was just step for step. I mean, Kawhi could not get past him. So really exciting. And just a great game overall. That was the first one where the Clippers won in LA, the Staples Center. So, but yeah, getting back to Marcus Morris, I'm just not a huge fan, and I've seen his acts, and maybe he'll have the Clippers, but I'm kind of lukewarm on that one, Dave.
I'm not that big on it either. I think people ask me what you think of the Marcus Morris trade. I'm like, it's okay. I guess. Like, how much is it going to impact the Clippers? Like, not that much.
Yeah.
I really don't think it's going to make that big a difference.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is like if George has missed a lot of games and so has Kawhi. Is like, down the stretch, if they want to rest those guys, they have a good, suitable, small forward who can kind of fill in for both of them. So, but that's my only take.
I think it's completely fair. I don't remember any other major trades beyond that. I mean, anything else is probably, I don't know, probably negligible. I'm sad to say I didn't see any news about TJ Leaf.
we didn't get a TJ Leaf.
I don't think we got a Woj bomb about TJ Leaf.
No, we didn't.
No, nothing happened. They're still, they never traded him. Oh well, poor guy. So that's about it. I mean, we were gonna do like a first half roundup last week, and but we decided not to do a show, and that was fine. Now, obviously, there wasn't that much going on that week. I do want to make a point that the Toronto Raptors are now on a 16-game winning streak, and that team...
They lost to the Nets right before the break, right?
Wait. Oh, I'm an idiot. You're right.
That's okay.
And I was like, oh, what if they lose and Indiana wins and they both won? But they both happened. Like the Pacers finally won. They lost 5 in a row. They won. And forgive all my drunken stupor here, but the Raptors did lose to Brooklyn. Remember, the previous meeting with Brooklyn in the middle of that 15-game winning streak, they only won by a point. So it was not that big a surprise in the end that the Nets beat them the second time around. It was just time. I figured it was just time. So my fault on that. They finally lost the game, and I don't know if you saw the game, but certainly 15 games in a row is an amazing streak, and to go more than that is extraordinary. So I'm not that surprised, but you got to give a lot of credit to the Raptors for that big run.
Absolutely. No, I mean, they're like surprise team. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And like Nick Nurse is proven to be a quality NBA coach. And he's got this team that really lost their heart and soul from last year. from the title team, and they feel like they haven't really missed a beat. I mean, they're second in the East right now, and this 16-game win streak is. I mean, when you get up that high, it's really something. I mean, you're talking about like an eighth of the season, or not more than that, and without a loss. I mean, it's incredible. Speaking of coaches, and I hope I'm not kind of stepping on something you were going to bring up, but I just wanted to make a point. I read in The Athletic today that John Beeline, who is the rookie coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers, will not be returning next year. And there was all kinds of speculation that he was worried about his son, who got fired at Niagara University, I believe, and just the whole season's gone sideways for the Cavs anyways. So yeah, I mean, that's the rumor. I mean, it always struck me as a weird hire that a guy, and I don't want to be ageist, but a guy who's 67 years old is taking his first NBA coaching job. It just seemed very strange to me. And boy, I did not see would last a year, maybe less. I mean, there are reports that he might actually be gone, this week. So just did not see that coming. It's the bad teams just never seem to get out of their own way.
No, it was really bizarre. It was a really bizarre form of gamble to go after somebody that old, but a proven name, I guess, in college terms, because he had been a solid with Michigan, but he just seemed like he was a little bit too much of an authoritarian, and there had been rumblings about player mutiny with him all season, so it's not really a big surprise, and I think Cleveland kind of went the wrong direction here with the hire. Usually when you're trying to hire somebody different, you want to hire somebody different in the young direction. 67 years old, not really what you had in mind. Now, I think they paid him a decent amount of money for like a couple years. So
it was a 5-year contract.
Oh my God! They're not going to give him a second season under that.
Apparently, there was some kind of mutual agreement, which means that like he wanted out, they wanted him out, and so I mean, there's probably some capitulation on that contract. We may never know, though, right? I mean, we'll probably never know what kind of agreement, but he'll be probably getting paid more than one, but less than five, somewhere in there.
Well, I think for the sake of the Cavs, they're hoping for some kind of compromise, because if they have to pay him all 5 of them, that is rough. That is rough.
That would be rough. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, I guess. But certainly, it's not a good fit for the team. It's clear. The players don't like him. I mean, he doesn't really seem to have a feel for that roster either. I think he's just kind of just like, it's my way or the highway, and it's like, nah, that doesn't really work in the NBA. It's like, not to say that I don't want toughness in the NBA, I don't want discipline. I love those things. But when you're just going in there, stepping in with no credibility on an NBA level, and they're just saying, hey, this is what you got to do, and blah, 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 and not working with the talent that you have, yeah, I mean, that's kind of rough. So it doesn't seem like he's got a feel for NBA coaching as of the moment. And it's only been a year, but, they're rough. They have not improved. They've shown no development. What do you want me to say? Like, it's nothing else I can really add to that.
Yeah, I go back to when the Cavs re-signed Kevin Love right after LeBron left, and they signed him to that. I think it was a 4-year deal. I think it was a 4-year deal, but it was an insane number. It was like, I think he was making like 28, 29 million a season. I was like, wow, this is a team that really should be getting creative, just about pulling in young talent. And this is the move you make. Okay. And Love has been absolutely awful for them this year. And when he plays, even though he's been hurt a lot, especially last year, he missed almost the entire season. When he does play, he's just indifferent to playing any kind of defense. And he's just he's kind of a mess. And I just question the wisdom of that. And then the Beeline thing, while interesting, because he is, no question, he was an elite college coach. And I saw him in person at the NCAA finals against Rick Pitino in Louisville, and he had a lot of success. He was at Pitt right before that, right? If I'm not mistaken, and he had some good teams there too, and it was really one of the better college coaches. I know Mike Francesa's a huge John Beeline fan. We chalk him up all the time, and I just questioned, why get an older coach to coach a team that is, there's no question, is in rebuilding. And, I think those teams require a soft touch. I really do. I think, when you're bringing in young players, and it's we kind of talked about this offline. It's really a time to kind of, to instruct and also to evaluate, because you don't want to be in a point where, after these rookie contracts are up, you don't want to be in a point where you don't know what you have. And this is a lost year, there's no two ways about it. And, the Garlands and, of the world, these young guys that they're going to eventually have to make a decision on, they're not going to have, good info on, if they're switching coaches after 1 year. So, I'm just kind of perplexed by almost everything they've done since LeBron has been gone. It's kind of a bummer, but that's the way it goes. I think the fish are up in the head, and Cleveland's, the best thing that ever happened to them was having LeBron, but they have one of the worst owners in sport, and it reflects in the on-court product.
Yeah, it's quite right. We've been talking about Beeline the last 5 minutes. That's quite right. Right.
I went off on a little tangent, and then I went on to another tangent about the Cavs. But
no, I think the tangent about the Cavs makes sense. It's like, just goes to show you that they can't get out of their own way without LeBron, right? The team is useless without him. And we knew that 15 years ago. Like, we knew that without LeBron they'd be nothing, and here they are without LeBron, and they're pretty much nothing. And it's funny how quickly they went to nothing after he left. That's all it took. And not a good mark on the management of the Cavs, right?
I'll tell you too, it's kind of amazing that they were able. Say what you will, Beeline is a big name. Getting him there kind of shocked me. Like, one, why would he leave Michigan? Two, why would he leave Michigan to go to the NBA? Three, why would he go to Michigan, leave Michigan and go to the Cavs of all places? And so they must have done some kind of sales job. I know it was a 5-year contract, so that's huge. But I wonder, where does Cleveland go next? It's not, it's not, I know there's only 30 teams, there's only 30 jobs, but it's going to be hard to pull in a good coach, at this point. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm very skeptical. Like, the next hire is going to be any good either,
That's a good point. They've already made their shot. They rolled their dice, but they flunked. And so now, like, when you flunk that hard on a 5-year investment, what is the next move? Like,
yep.
Great call. I don't know. That's a really good question. So I think I forgot to mention about the, going back to the All-Star game talk. Fourth quarter, of the All-Star game on Sunday. No, I guess I did mention this, but why did Harden not take the basket with a wide open baseline? I'm so confused at that. My only hypothesis is that he wanted to hook up LeBron because he wanted LeBron to get the final game-winning shot. But honest to God, it's like, are you really that committed to that idea when you got a wide open baseline to get a shot to win the game? Just go take the basket. It's wide open. It was so weird. It was just the weirdest thing I'd seen. Whether you had the politics or not, it just didn't make any sense to me. So, do you think there was some element of that? Like, I want to hook up my buddy. Is that the idea?
Are LeBron and Harden buddies?
I mean, you said network of buddies.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that line. Network of buddies.
I don't know. I didn't see it. I heard that. Yeah, that he passed up what could have been the game winner. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. I'll have to go back and watch it. But it does shock me to hear that. Harden passed up the opportunity to play the hero.
Yeah.
Just when does he ever do that?
Yeah, it's a little bizarre, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and keep an eye on that. But I did hear. I actually saw the highlight about that this morning. But I didn't actually see it in real time.
Mm. All right. Well, I don't think there's much left to talk about with respect to the trade deadline. The timing of our last show was so good that we covered quite a bit of it in that show. So well done by us. But now we look ahead to the second half, and I think the biggest tangible prediction is that the New Orleans Pelicans can make the playoffs, and they were buried. Like 2 months ago, they were buried. They were absolutely dead. Zion comes back. They started to win a few games. Then Zion comes back, and they win more games. Now they look pretty good. But let's be fair, folks. Their defense still stinks. They got to be clear on that. Their defense is not good. It has never improved in the middle of all that. But they're a more exciting team, and it is getting very interesting for them. So my question to you is, do you think that they'll make a play for that, one of the last two playoff spots in the NBA Western Conference?
I got to pull up the standings because I don't exactly know. Yeah, I don't know exactly top of mind what how far out they are. I know that they're so they're 11th seed currently, and they'd have to catch the Grizzlies, who are it's 5.5 games. That's quite a bit to make up, to be fair. And then there's two other teams that they have to leapfrog in there. It wouldn't shock me to see a regression by the Grizzlies. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. But man, that would be that's a lot. I mean, 5.5 games over the course of less than 30 remaining is quite a bit. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, they'd have to go on and sink. I'm not saying they can't, but these teams that are the Grizzlies are only 2 games over 500.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to do the math to figure out what.
I mean, that's the team you're looking at, right? I don't necessarily think Portland is going to give it away. The Spurs, they can pass. I mean, the Pelicans can pass the Spurs. That I think is fairly easy. They're only half a game behind those guys, but getting past Memphis, I don't know. And I don't know why I think Portland can hang on to that 9th. Oh, that's 9th. Oh, never mind. So, yeah, it's basically between them and the Grizzlies at this point. So, I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know.
It's interesting. I just ran the net rating of I can't remember when Zion joined the Pelicans, but I just ran just since January 1 just to see what their net rating is. And over that period, since the first of this year, they are 11th in net rating. Defensive rating is 19th, so still not great, but their offense has been significantly improved in their top 5 right now. When did Zion? I'd love to just kind of isolate it to when Zion when his first game was back. Just looking at the game. Oh, sorry. Bear with me here. His first game was, let's see. Yeah, so January 22. Let me just run that number there because I want to just see what kind of okay, so since January 22 of this year, yeah, they're playing a lot better, Dave. Since Zion's been there, they are, and again, small sample, this is probably 11 games.
Mm-hmm.
In the 11 games since Zion's been there, they're 11th in defensive rating. Net rating, they are 7th. So, and then the other thing, too, to bring into this is, and I sent you this link, is tank-a-thon ranks strength of schedule for the remainder of the season. And the Pelicans have the easiest strength of schedule going forward.
Mm-hmm. And
their opponents for the remaining 27 games are playing at a 449 clip. So this could be interesting, Dave. You're onto something here. And interestingly enough, the team with the toughest strength of schedule, and again, this is not totally scientific because just because the rosters have changed and some of these teams that were tough at the beginning are maybe not quite as tough. But the toughest strength of schedule remaining, Memphis Grizzlies at 554 clip. They have 2 games against the Lakers, 2 against the Raptors. They got the Celtics, they got the Bucks. So they've got some tough games left in there. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll stay tuned. I mean, 5.5 games just on the face of it strikes me as a lot. As a really tough hurdle to overcome, particularly when it's not just one team you're chasing. It's you also have Portland and San Antonio in the mix. But I don't know. I mean, if they look like a different team with Zion is just such a freak athlete. Like some of these blocks he has he just kind of comes out of nowhere and blocks shots. I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's been a difference maker on the defensive end. There's no question.
Wait, you mean Zion?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely. We've talked about how good he was as a defender in college, and so I'm not surprised he's doing the same thing in the NBA. Good job out of him.
Yeah, the signature play, I think it was against DeAndre Hunter of the University of Virginia, where he closed out on him. Zion was standing like in the paint. Hunter is sitting behind the three-point arc in the corner. And in no time at all, he ran out to meet him and blocked his shot. And I've never seen anything like that, where you're making up like 20 feet of ground and you block blocking a three-point shot, first of all, is like rare, right? I mean, but to do it in such a dramatic fashion was unreal. But he's had some incredible. The first game I saw him, he blocked a shot, and it was just, I don't even know where it came from. He's so explosive on the defensive end. I don't know. They're a must watch. It's funny. We went from early in the season talking about the Pelicans, how they're on national TV all the time, and they're the team that nobody wants to see, to, okay, everyone wants to see this team now because they're significantly improved. They didn't trade Drew Holiday at the deadline. And all of a sudden they're deep and like kind of exciting. And they've got some exciting players with Ingram, who's really
the unsung hero of that team, right?
Really, really, yeah. Maybe the most improved player in the NBA this year. I mean, certainly in the conversation. And so yeah, it's man. That is a good point. That's a good one, Dave. Good job out of you.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to the Ringer NBA, the Ringer in general, just for pointing that out, because I think they were the ones who first talked about it. And so they were right on top of it. They thought that they actually pointed out that they had the easiest strength of schedule the remainder of the season. And I was looking at it, oh my God. I'm like, I buy it. And then you got Zion coming back. It's like a lot of things coming together. They could make the playoffs, and if they do, it will make for much more interesting playoffs because they're going to likely play either the Lakers or the Clippers, and that either one of those is really interesting. Lakers, it's interesting because all those old Laker players are going to play against the Lakers. And if it's the Clippers, it's the opportunity for Zion to upset a team that everybody talked about in the offseason. So there's a lot there. I hope they make it. I guess from that standpoint, like as much as I love Ja, wouldn't you rather see the Pelicans make the playoffs than Memphis?
I think I would. I'll do Ja's fun too. I mean,
I love Ja, no doubt. But
can we toss the Rockets out of there because I don't particularly enjoy watching that play?
We cannot do that because they have too many wins. We cannot do that, unfortunately.
Keep Memphis and New Orleans and throw the Rockets.
Well, you know the one team we could toss out though for sure, Portland. Who gives a crap about Portland?
Well, Portland's the 9th seed though right now, so they're not.
They're not a factor at this point. Right.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the teams that are in the West that I really wouldn't care to see. I guess the Thunder aren't that exciting to me.
I mean, great job out of them, right? We talked about how good they've been playing, but interesting? No, not really. So that's probably the team that you want to see them fall out of there, but I don't see that either because they do one thing that a lot of teams in the bottom of the NBA Western Conference doesn't do. They play defense.
Yeah, they sure do.
They play defense, and the Pelicans don't do it, and the Grizzlies, not great at it. Spurs don't do it. Blazers, I have no feel for that. Maybe they do, but the Suns don't. No. The Kings don't. Timberwolves don't. Warriors really don't. So that's why the Thunder are here to stay.
Yeah, the Blazers are a terrible defensive team. They're bottom 5, in fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would have sided towards, like not inferior defense versus superior defense. So I buy into that. Okay, very good. So let's see. So I guess the two of us have a feeling that the Pelicans have a real shot to make the playoffs, even at 23-32 right now. But they've been winning they've been pretty good.
Let's do this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I want to hear this. What are we doing?
I was just saying, I'm looking at the tank-a-thon. You have that page open. Let's pick one team, maybe that just based on strength of schedule, that you would like to see go on a nice little run. You
mean positive, not run to the lottery, right? Like lottery.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess you could do it both ways. You know me. I'm a glass half full guy. So let's go. That's the way I look.
So you mean positive in terms of actually winning? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could go Memphis because they're the Celtics on their pick, and it'd be nice to see them go back in the lottery.
Let's go
one more time, but
let's do this.
Should I give you mine?
I'll give it. Yeah, go ahead and give me mine.
All right, I'll just do this. I mean, and this is a team that's kind of I've had a little soft spot for. It's an Eastern Conference team. It's the Orlando Magic. They've kind of fallen on hard times lately, and I think they're out of the. They're currently at the 8th seed right now, but they've dropped behind the Brooklyn Nets. They are 24-31 at the midpoint of the season, but they do have going for them, and they've had a lot of injuries too. But they do at this point have going for them. They have one of the weakest schedules. I think they're 5th weakest in of the remaining schedules. Their opponents are playing at a 464, 3rd weakest. They were 464 strength of schedule for the remaining teams, as they're playing a 464 clip. So that is a team that I would like to see maybe go on a little run, maybe even get back into definitely get above 500 first, but also look to maybe you surpass the Nets, who they're only 2 games in back of, and get back in maybe 7th seed. So that is my thought. Do you have one in mind? Just something. It could just be.
No, you beat me. You beat me with the Magic. I thought the Magic could make a legit run. Their defense continues to be pretty solid, so I was all about it. And then 2 guys who I would consider impact players. Number 1 would be Aaron Gordon, who you talked about in the slam dunk contest. The other is Nikola Vucevic, who I think is very good. Now, he's more of a perimeter player, to be fair, but the guy's got some skills. He can pass, too. So I think between the 2 of them, Evan Fournier, and a bunch of other guys who play pretty good defense, I think that team could actually make a tangible run to a playoff berth.
Yeah, I was bummed. I've talked about him a lot on the show. I love Jonathan Isaac. I've watched him since his Florida State days, and he's kind of one of the more interesting players just because he's such a defensive freak. I mean, he can kind of guard anyone on the court. And he's big enough to guard bigs, and he's quick enough to guard guards. And so he's out for the season, which is a huge loss in them. So I was really bummed about that. But that's a team. I don't know why I have a little affinity for them. And I would love to see them go on a little run.
No, I get you. I got you there. It would be. I mean, they may be not the prettiest team to watch, but they've got talented dudes. So I would trust them more than a bunch of teams in the East. Like, for example, you know the Washington Wizards are only in the 9th slot in the Eastern Conference. That's a disgrace. That is a terrible basketball team. They shouldn't be anywhere near that. Absolutely nowhere near that. 7-20 on the road, the worst defense in the NBA. That's not a team that should be in the 9th position at all. They should be buried. I don't get it. I'm not sure how that can be explained, so I would trust the Magic way more in that scenario. I
think, one thing is that the Wizards have played incredible offense. Not lately, but they kind of cooled off, but they went on this run where they were scoring just a ton of points. And that kind of propelled them. But I think teams have kind of caught on, and net rating wise, they are down near the bottom. I mean, they're 25th out of 30 teams right now in terms of net rating. And if you look at strength of schedule, they have the 4th toughest schedule for the remaining games. So I would look to them. If I had a bet on something, you can still do over-unders. They probably have modified odds for that kind of stuff, right? I would look to them to kind of go back in, to kind of regress to the mean, as it were. And so we'll see. But I totally agree with you about Washington.
Yeah, so let me look at the tank-a-thon rankings again, see what the deal is.
Can you do that, though? Can you mid-season can you do over-unders after the season started? I'm sure they do that,
no,
right?
You can't. Just to make that no, you can't actually do that at this point. You can do like odds to win a division or win the conference mid-season. You can't do it with that. That's a little too tricky. So I would say not the spot. But it's okay. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's all good. So,
thought I had something there.
Wait, what were you going to do? Go do an under?
I would think like with, let's see, they have like, for example, like just using that Wizards as an example. So they have 20 wins.
Right.
And, I don't know what the original over-unders were. Obviously, that kind of goes out the window. But, what if you said the over-under now is 26 wins, something like that? Mm-hmm. Can they win? That looks like an easy over. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Right. But, maybe they have some like modified win total based on mid-season. I don't know.
I gotcha. Yeah, probably not, but it's okay. It's all good. I would certainly be happy to partake in something like that, but I think that's the idea. It would be too easy for people to win with some of those. Like, Wizards under so many wins mid-season, they would probably clean it. Gamblers would clean up on that situation. So there's nothing there. Here's something I wanted to bring up. Vegas Insider ran a really comprehensive breakdown of various different categories: defensive field goal point percentage, defensive efficiency, field goal efficiency versus, who had the most wins of the break, blah, blah, blah. The Lakers had scored tops in like a lot of those categories. And for that reason, the people at Vegas Insider think the Lakers have a really good chance to win the championship. And so my question is, do you buy into that? I mean, I actually do buy into it, and it's kind of scary. I still don't really, in my head, think they'll do it because I'm just concerned that, maybe someone gets hurt, something bad happens. But if you look at it statistically, this is a team that seems to be the favorite to win the championship now. I have felt all along that the Clippers were the team to beat, but if you look at how the regular season has gone, the Lakers have really shown that they can show up against the best teams and come out ahead. Great game against Denver. Their defensive metrics are fantastic. The only thing that stinks is that their bench play isn't great, and they can't shoot the three that well. But they own it in the paint, both ways. They own it offensively and defensively. They are really good in both categories. So all the stats say and the odds and everything else say the Lakers are the team to beat here the rest of the way. Would you buy into that, or do you see that some other team coming out of the woodwork and taking over?
Wait, this is just for the Western Conference?
This is for the championship. This is for the NBA Finals. So it's like, it's pretty wild.
In terms of defensive rating, you know who's number one, right?
Milwaukee's number one. They did mention this.
Yeah.
But they were saying that that's a curse. Like, being number one in defensive rating is a bit of a curse because the number one defensive rating team hadn't really been the final or hadn't won the finals in a bunch of years. But they also said that if you are number one in defensive rating, you make it to the finals a lot of the time. So I don't think Milwaukee's going to complain about their situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have no problem saying the Lakers will, they have a really good chance of winning the West. Say they'll win the finals. They have a good shot. I don't know. I think people are, I don't know. I think they're overlooking Milwaukee and just how good they've been. I mean, they were great last year. They're better this year somehow. I don't even know how. And I don't know. But I'm not trying to throw dirt on the Lakers. I definitely think they have a really good chance. I mean, they're kind of making a statement, but Milwaukee's going to win 70 games. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It'll be fun. I mean, I think the conversation is exciting. I think, for the first time in a long time, well, look, I mean, we're going to have I shouldn't say that because I'm just kind of Toronto, but for the first time in a long time, we really have no idea who's going to win the title. We don't go in the season with an opinion on a strong favorite, but certainly the Lakers are in the conversation. There's no doubt.
I think the Lakers really have a chance. I don't think it's any guarantee whatsoever.
They definitely have a chance. I mean, of course, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the top two teams in that rating are the Bucks at 11.5 and the Lakers at 7.2.
Yeah. It just is it's anyone's guess, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who's third in that list, by the way?
Was it Toronto?
No.
Not Toronto.
Toronto's fourth.
Was it the Clippers?
No.
Wait, we're talking about defensive rating?
Net rating.
Oh, net rating. Oh, man.
Yeah, the difference between offensive rating and defensive rating.
Well, you brought it up, so I'm guessing the Celtics.
You got it.
Yeah, I do it. There's a reason you asked that question.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm fascinated by this stat. I love tracking this stuff, like, because it's meaningful, right? I mean, you're looking at actual numbers, like how often you score per 100 possessions or how often you allow teams to score per 100 possessions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether you agree with that number as it applies in a playoff series where you're playing the same team in a best of 7, that's something different. But I think this is empirical data, and that's why it's interesting to me. So,
right.
But the Celtics are just a notch above, half point above Toronto in that list, and Dallas rounds up the top 5.
Huh. See, that's kind of wild. So yeah. But
I mean, Dallas offensively is like amazing. They're the leading team in offensive rating.
Yeah, the offensive rating is never a problem with them, but they give it back. That's why it's tricky with them. Boston's been so up and down, though. It's like, yeah, the rating is good, but sometimes they play great and sometimes they don't. And I'm sure you would agree, just from what you've seen so far.
Up and down. I mean, they're, they've lost their fair share of games, but they're still third in the East. They're playing at a 70% clip. I mean, they're 38-16. They're one of 3 teams in the East. They're one of 5 teams with a 70% win percentage. So I don't know. I mean, yes, but I mean, still pretty good,
Oh, yeah. No,
it's not. They're not in Milwaukee's class. They're not in the Lakers' class, but they're just comfortably below that. So
let me see if I can come up with another team that I could make a run here to the playoffs. Let's see. If Phoenix somehow were to beat the Bucks again, I could give it to them. I think they have a shot because they're better.
We're talking about for the
Suns. Like, they can beat out the chumps Sacramento. Fuck them. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said it like that. But seriously, they stink. Chicago, we know the deal. Boylan's about to get fired in either this year or next. We know the deal. Charlotte, no way. I know that I'm actually looking at this incorrectly. I need to go the other way. Portland, we already established they aren't that great. San Antonio, their defense stinks. Brooklyn, no. But that's irrelevant because Phoenix is in the West. Could Phoenix make a run? Yes. Do they make a run? Probably not, but I would hold out a possibility for them. I need to look. I'm looking at the tank-a-thon rankings. That's why I'm all messed up here.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, the Suns got off to that great start, and they were, for the first quarter of the season, they looked like a playoff team. They legitimately were playing well. They had some nice wins in there. And then things kind of fell apart. I think the Aaron Bates thing really hurt them. And then Ayton got
suspension.
They got suspended, and I don't know. I feel like when he got suspended and Baines was starting at center, they really kind of hit their stride. And they were playing really well because Baines just fit in well with that offense, and he gave him a different look from Ayton because he could hit the 3. Mm-hmm. And he's like a pretty good passer, good pivot man, and good on the pick and roll too. I feel like Ayton. I feel like Ayton's just such a dinosaur. I really do. I just he's not a bad player, but he like back in like 1986, teams would be drooling over a guy like that. It just doesn't fit in with the modern NBA, in my opinion.
That's fair. Totally fair. I'm with you. Ayton is like, you could probably compare him to like Patrick Ewing, but that's not favorable in 2020. So I get you on that. Yeah. Very good. But I like Booker. I think Booker's a really dynamic player. He's a real game changer to me. But, yeah, it's just kind of a shot in the dark at this point. The Pelicans certainly have the inside track to be that team to make the miracle run. They are still, even after as well as they've been playing, they're 9 games under 500, so they've got a lot of work to do even after all this stuff. Yeah,
they sure do. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I haven't even looked at the TV schedules. Are they on? Do they still have like a bunch of nationally televised games left? I feel like they must, right?
Let's go see. I mean, they have
front
to.
load them.
No, I'm pretty sure they're on a lot. Let's see. Let me load this up because I just want to see when the next one is. All right. So we got plenty of Houston. Yeah, there we go. ESPN, 10:30 Eastern, Friday. They will be playing against the Trailblazers. So that's the first one. And then the Pelicans again. NBA TV, Sunday, February 23rd against the Warriors. And then they'll do it again on February 25th against the Lakers, 10 o'clock Eastern, Tuesday. So they're on a lot. That's 3 times in like a week, in the next week. So we don't have to worry about missing out on the Pelicans nationally. They'll still be on plenty of times the rest of the season.
Well, I'll be there.
No, I think people will actually watch him this time because Zion is really the real thing. Yeah, I'm with you. I think they'll be worth it this time. So, very good. Yeah, and then they're on again March the 1st against the Lakers again, but that time in New Orleans. So the NBA has not forgotten about this team since Zion came back. So they figure that they'll be there to document their big run to the playoffs against whoever. Question for you. Okay. And we're running over. I'm sorry. But the Pelicans versus the Lakers, probably not, right? But if you put them against the Clippers, what do you think? Do you think they would have a chance for a potential playoff round upset?
So like excuse me, if it was like a 7-2 matchup in the first round.
Exactly, yeah, 7-2.
See, I feel like we're not really seeing the Clippers at full strength. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't happen because it could, but I would definitely bet on a 2 seed, 2 games at home. Or 3 games at home because it's best of 5, right? In the first round. So
no, not anymore. It's best of 7.
It's 4-3. It's 4-3. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, I feel like I'd be comfortable picking the Clippers, assuming everyone's healthy. But you're not going to see, assuming Paul George is back, and you're not going to see them resting guys anymore. So I just feel like that team is so difficult when they're at full strength. I mean, with George and Kawhi, they got 2 like wings who can guard anybody. I don't know. I would as much as I like the Pelicans and it'd be a nice story and it'd be a nice upset. I don't see that one happening.
I wouldn't bet on it either. I would think that even as good as they've been, as well as the Pelicans have been playing, and as mediocre as the Clippers have been playing. You put out that lineup of Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Patrick Beverly. Is there anyone else? And if you wanted to, you could throw out Lou Williams at the point. You put those 4 guys on the court at the same time. I think that's a tough team to beat. So I still would put
Montrez and
Trez too. Yeah,
Marcus Morris. Yeah. No, I mean they're Clippers are solid. They just haven't played up to their potential. But I don't want to bury them just yet. It's interesting though; they are actually the 3rd seed right now. Denver's ahead of them, so that'll be a dogfight. Going down the stretch. So those 2 teams fighting it out, and the Jazz are only a half game behind. So those 3 teams really fighting it out.
Yeah.
See what the Rockets can do too, because they made arguably the biggest move of all at the deadline, and they have the most different looking team since the deadline. So a lot of excitement in that 2 through 5 slots in the Western Conference.
Yep, no doubt about it. So I think you're in. No, I think that it'll be. I still would put the money on the Clippers as well. I mean, sure, for 1 game, maybe you can get a shocking upset, but over best out of 7, the Clippers will figure it out by then. And like you said, I think the motivation will be way higher. So I would be very surprised if the Clippers lost that series.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. That's about it. I was thinking we would have some other stuff, but I think that's all the stuff. So, any final thoughts before we close it off tonight?
No, it was good. Sorry I didn't get to watch the actual All-Star game. I watched everything else over the weekend. But we'll go back and watch it. But yeah, I'm pumped up, man. There's a lot to look forward to. I mean, ratings are down, but I think the league is as strong as it's ever been, in my opinion. I really do feel that. And any night you turn on the NBA, it's like, wow, this game's good. Or there's like 2 or 3 games that I could pick up and watch. And generally, I do, unless it's, like one of these 10 o'clock on the West Coast games. But yeah, I'm pumped up. I'm primed for second half basketball. It's going to be really exciting.
For sure. And I think the ratings, the TV ratings slip was mostly due to the fact that they put on all the Pelican games before Zion got there. That's a big part of it.
You might be on something there. I'd be interested.
I think the ratings will pick up a little bit here in the second half of the season, and we're in for some fun. I mean, I realize that, yes, it's ultimately going to be a matter of whether the Clippers or the Lakers or some other Western Conference team takes it. I doubt anyone else does. The only team I might give another shot at, 2 of the teams, the Heat, because I think they made some moves. Their defense is really really tough. The other team, Toronto, because they've had a lot of players who've been there before, and their defense is really tough. But they don't have. But again, Stars win these playoff series. And as great as Lowry's been playing, as great as Siakam's been playing, neither one of those guys is a superstar. Would you agree?
I think Siakam is. I don't know how you gauge superstar, but man, he's played like one.
I don't know. Let me just put it this way: you put Siakam in a different team, does he do the same thing? I don't know. The system's great over there in Toronto. I love Siakam, but I'm just telling you, I think the system has a lot to do with it.
Okay.
We'll see, right? The playoffs will reveal this for us, and we'll see whether Siakam steps it up in the playoffs too. But I love the dude. I think he's a great player, but it's kind of like, any wide receiver in a Peyton Manning football team. It's like, well, is he really that good, or is Peyton Manning making him that good? Like, we don't know yet. We're gonna find out in the playoffs. That's the exciting part of it.
No, those guys made Peyton Manning look good. You have it all backwards.
Now I know your perspective on this, so so I don't want to throw shade on Pascal Siakam yet.
Every single one of those guys was better than Manning.
That's a strong statement.
I'm just kidding. Just having no fun here, Dave.
You got a good laugh out of me, though. That's funny. Well, anyway, I didn't want to knock Pascal Siakam tonight. I didn't mean to do that, but I still think that you talk about a Heat team with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, who, again, could be a system guy. But both of those guys so far have looked really good. So it'll be interesting to see if they step it up in the playoffs, too. I do agree with the points that other people have made that the Heat may not have the depth to make it through an entire 7-game series, so I don't completely trust them yet from a playoff perspective, but it's a very interesting team to watch, wouldn't you, I would say?
Toronto or Miami?
No, I'm sorry. I pivoted to Miami.
Yeah, both those teams 100% interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And I totally got it wrong on Miami. A year ago at this time, I was laughing at them because it looked like they were going to have cap problems, and they somehow, A, managed to get younger, find young players, and B, get rid of the cap problems to the point where they're fine, and they're probably going to go after Giannis when he's a free agent next summer.
Yep.
So I can't ridicule Pat Riley ever. It's just like he's like one of those constants. He's just a really great player personnel guy. And there's a few of them around the league, and he's one of the best. And he makes you look silly. And so that's a really well run. As much as I dislike them, it's a really well run organization there. So.
Yeah, I got to give him some props. I mean, I still didn't like the Iguodala trade, but they did augment that with some of the pieces, and I think overall this team's going to be pretty good, and it'll be a tough out. No one's going to beat them easily.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Defense makes a big factor in the playoffs, and this team plays some of the best defense in the Eastern Conference. There's no doubt.
Can't disagree there.
Yep. All right. I mean, my closing comment is watch out for the Pelicans. I think that's a real thing. I think they're going to make the playoffs. But then, because their defense is still pretty weak, I don't think they're going to do much in a 7-game series. But I still want to see them make it, just to see the excitement of all this young talent getting into one playoff series against a big team, whether it's the Lakers or the Clippers or even the Denver Nuggets, whoever it may be. It should be a fun series regardless. So that's about it for me. So, all right, Chris. Well, I hope you've enjoyed your weekend. Thanks for coming on this holiday. I really appreciate that. It's been fun talking about all this stuff. So, that's it. I guess that's all I've got. I mean, you mentioned your final thoughts. So, thank you, Chris. And I look forward to the weeks ahead when we have more juice in the NBA. So, take care. And I'll give it to you for the last word.
Thanks so much, Dave. Pleasure was all mine. Have a great week, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, sounds good. Feelings mutual, absolutely. Take care, buddy. Take care, Chris. And I think that's that. So thank you, Chris. Have a good week. That's our show. Forgive my loopiness there near the end. I hope you enjoyed the program tonight. That was fun. It was a good show. We really talked about a lot of stuff tonight. Take care, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this program. If you're looking for us for future shows, look for us on Twitter at DITCOW or Dave in the City Out West on Apple Podcasts. I am Dave Medina. Hope you enjoyed it. We got more coming up in the second half of the season. More shows for you coming up these next few weeks. Till then, we'll see you next time.